Hello, everyone, and welcome to Office Hours. It is Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, so we are here to answer your questions about Alexa development, voice interfaces, all the stuff. And as always, I have Amanda Lang here with me. Amanda, thanks for being here.
Hello, how are you?
I'm
It is
good.
9 a.m. Pacific, by the way. I inform everybody that we moved our clocks
Right.
forward an hour.
Did I just say 9 a.m. or did I say
you
Pacific?
did. No, you did say it, but
Okay,
some
cool.
people out there might not realize that
time change will
has
throw
changed.
people
Yeah.
off for sure.
Yeah,
For sure. Speaking of time, we have hours of the day and weeks in the year, but this is a very specific month, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Let me wish you all a happy Women's History Month. Happy March. Alexa is featuring some stories this month of inspiring women who work at Amazon on our blog. So the first in a series is out now, and we're going to go ahead and drop a link to that in the chat. So just be sure to check that out. We're going to be featuring women's stories all month long for the Women's History. So it's exciting.
Super cool. It's so great that we can have all of these kinds of celebrations throughout the year because I think it really brings to light a lot of the cool things that a lot of people are doing that may have otherwise been overlooked. So it's excellent. Speaking of women, we actually have two women doing our next Tech Talk. On Wednesday next week, we're going to have our latest Tech Talk. And this time it's on what's new in the developer console. So Mayatri Chowbey, who's our Alexa Senior Technical Product Manager, and our Product Marketing Manager, Helen Hasboon, has shed light on all the changes and updates that have been made in the developer console to help reduce developer friction, any of the challenges that you've been facing, and try to make building with Alexa easier. And so we also have a link to the Tech Talk that's coming up in the chat. So make sure, if you haven't already registered for that and signed up, make sure you do that. One of the other things that we've been doing lately is using some of the tips from our Skill Quality Coach and making sure that we're sharing those tips with you here. And so this week's tip is about memory persistence. And this is something that I spend a lot of time in my own skills thinking about, but highly engaging skills let customers continue from where they left off. So whether that's in a game and just saving your progress, or it's things like achievements or other kinds of interactions that you may have with a skill, remembering that, hey, you've been here before and you've done some things goes a long, long way in making sure that your users have an awesome experience inside your skill. It creates habitual engagement. That's the thing that we're going for. And so as much as you can, think about what can I save and what can I remember for a user the next time.
I'm seeing a happy Pi Day in the chat as well. It is Pi Day.
It is Pi Day.
Do you make a pie on Pi Day?
I don't generally make pies on Pi Day, but I do help run a software development conference called StirTrek. And our tickets generally always went on sale on Pi Day at 1:59 p.m. I'm sure you know why, right?
Perfect timing.
Right. So March 14th at 1:59 was the time that we decided to sell our tickets. And generally that's worked out okay. Today is actually the last day of early bird tickets, though. So if anybody's looking to get one, make sure to check that out.
By the way, before we start up with this week's guest, I'm going to tell you next week, we're going to have one of our Alexa champions on the show. It's Nick Schwab, and he works with SleepJar. That's his company. Maybe some of you use SleepJar to go to sleep every night. I know that I've gotten into the habit. So I'm really eager to hear what stories he has to share about his work and what he's working on now.
Yeah, Nick's always a really good conversation, and I'm sure he'll have some good stories to tell and some insights about things he'd love to see change about how Alexa works or some new functions he'd like to see available. All right, well, let's get to our guests for today. We have Rajat, Rohan, and Amkar here, so let me bring them on. And welcome, guys. How are you?
Everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Hello.
Awesome. So I'd like to start. So you guys are all from what we call ADECT, but generally most people outside the company would refer to you as the certification team. And it's not just you, right? There's an army of people that work on certification. But I'd love for each of you to introduce yourselves to the audience so they can get a feel for who they're talking to.
Sure. Rajat, go ahead.
We'll start with you.
So my name is Rajat. I take care of the operations. I have been majorly in part of Alexa skill certification, and now I take care of Alexa skill insights team also. So a lot of developers who are getting insights on their skills, live skills, it's mostly from someone from our team who is testing them manually and trying to bring some insights and help the developers out. So hi, everyone.
Perfect.
Thanks, hey, Jeff, Amanda, thank you for having us. So I'm Omkar Phatak. This is my second time on the video and the series, and thank you for having us again. I primarily program manage Skill Insights and certain certification initiatives. So we're glad to have this opportunity where we're going to talk about both Alexa Skill Insights and certification insights about monetization. So yeah, looking forward to the chat. Thanks, Jeff.
Great. And Rohan.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Amanda. My name is Rohan, and I'm in Amazon for almost 6 years. And I work as a process specialist for Alexa team, and I also look into ISP monitoring, ISP monetization team.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you guys for being here. So I know that we're going to talk a bit about ISPs today and around ISPs and certification specifically. So for all of you that are in the audience, if you have any questions for them about the certification process, or especially in-skill purchasing, and any of the challenges that you may face there, I have a few up my sleeve as well. This is the time to ask them. I'd love to be able to get any of your questions answered. And so with that, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about are the ISP recommendations. So the Alexa Skill Insights team shares ISP monetization recommendations with developers. So as we think about all the skill insights that are available, ISP recommendations are in there. How does that work, and what do developers have to do to start seeing those kinds of things?
I'll take that question, Jeff.
Okay.
So we strongly believe that the life cycle of the skill doesn't end once it's just published.
Agreed.
It goes beyond that. Developers can do a much more, from not just building the skill, engaging it, and also going to a value proportion to build a business. And one step to that direction is adding in skill products in their skill. Our Skill Insight team goes through a numerous number of skills that are live in the catalog. We evaluate each and every skill, identify the value proportion, and then determine which product suits. Obviously, there are different types of products that can go into a skill. So we evaluate basis the past experience that we have seen in the certification. We look at the customer feedback and then come up with a suggestion. We also ensure that the product recommendations that we share are already certification compliant, right? Along with this, we also drive one-on-one office hours with the developers. Developers who are interested can join those office hours, brainstorm with us on their skills, and we will not only give them a subject matter expert support, but also provide support from the certification standpoint. One easy way to sign up to this improvement process is send out an email to alexa-skills-insight@amazon.com with your skill ID and the skill name. The team will look into the skill and get back to you with all possible monetization solutions. Other than this, there is one more way to reach out to us. There is a dedicated Slack channel called Skills Insight under Alexa Community, where we are active and we can share. They can reach out to us there also, and we will respond on immediate basis whenever we see it.
Let's see if I can do this. I think I can share a link directly to that. So this is going to be a double whammy for me, everybody. Not only am I going to encourage you to join Slack, but I'm also going to be able to do that in a way where I can send you directly to the Slack channel. So let's see if I drop this in comments and I paste that. I believe this is a link directly to the Skill Insights channel inside our Slack community. So if you haven't already joined, you're going to have to sign up, and you can do that by going to, I can put the right link on the screen, alexa.design/Slack. So once you have an account and you've signed into Slack, though, the link that I just dropped in the chat will take you directly to the Skill Insights channel, where you can talk to folks like this about all of the, not just ISP, but all of the skill insights that are available. Okay, thank you for that, Rajat. I appreciate it. And I had a question for you. I wanted to make sure that we were really clear on the office hours that you just described. So this is an opportunity for people to set up one-on-one time with you and your team to talk about any skill insights?
Yes, not only in-skill product. We also share regarding skill quality coach. Developers already are getting a lot of emails from us from Skill Insight, how SQS recommendations should be considered. So we do support in all directions and try to answer them as much as possible.
Got it. So what about a developer, and this happens, I think, somewhat commonly. What about a developer that's thinking about building something? I'll give you a quick example. I'm building a skill right now, and I'm working through some internal processes for this. but I'm building a skill that is for skill developers. That is the primary audience of this thing. And you can do all sorts of things to manipulate the sound of the voice, right? We can set all of the SSML properties, effects, and emotions, and all of those kinds of things. But one of the things that I also included was the ability to change the voice. So you can select any of the poly voices, and it'll let you it'll change the voice in the skill. Well, I know that in the certification guidelines, you're not allowed to refer to those voices by their names, right? Like one of my favorite voices is Brian. And so I know I'm breaking a rule if I ask developers to use that name, but I also know that like, especially for my skills use case, referring to them by their names is the only obvious way to have users interact with those voices. So if they had a question about like, hey, I know I'm kind of like going around a guideline and I understand why the guidelines are there, but I need an exemption, is that something they could talk to you about as well?
We definitely get such questions. So there is no exception path. The skills have to follow the guideline.
Oh man,
give them the best. We give them the best alternative options. Also, we have few process experts like Rohan is here. We have other process experts on policy guidelines as well. We consult them before we give a final verdict. So it's not a verdict. So we also take their questions to the policy team and get more details around what can be done and what is the best alternative way to implement any recommendation that developers question.
Got it. So at least we can provide them alternative solutions to a certification guideline that they're running into. I think that's excellent. Okay. I'm going to remove this banner because it makes all the videos so small.
Let me just so much smaller. Hey, I want to go back to the topic of the in-skill purchasing for a second, because I have a lot of curiosity and questions about that. What do you think are the key insights and the key takeaways that you have that you can share with developers about ISP right now?
It's a good idea.
That's an excellent question, Amanda. Thank you. I think I'll take that. So based on our research with studying high revenue skills, and after testing thousands of skills here, we have some insights into key factors that will influence the success of any ISP product. All right. So let me dive right into it. What are one of the topmost factors which we should be looking at when looking at ISP monetization is identifying the aha moment or the core value proposition of your skill. Which is working for customers. Identify what's the hook or what delivers the aha moment for your skill first. Look at customer reviews. They tell you what they like or don't like, what skill enhancements they want. You can also look at the interaction path in the analytics dashboard for the skill and see where your customers are spending most of the time. So studying all these factors will give you an idea about what customers would be willing to pay for and what are the products that you could design basis those insights, right? So find what would enhance the customer delight within your skill experience and enhance its utility, convenience, and maximize its delight for customers in terms of its utility value and entertainment value as well, right? So with that, I'll just talk about a few examples. For example, game skills can unlock more content variety for the returning customers through ISP. Music and audio skills can unlock high definition audio and looping features, for example, that can go on for long intervals. So once you have determined what your product is like, next question might be, what is the type of product that you want to launch? So I'll just give you some quick insights for each of subscription, one-time purchase, and consumables in terms of the thought process that could help you. Subscription as a product is best used when you're providing recurring value to customers. For example, sleep sounds skills might be used frequently by customers as an aid for sleep, and there's frequent usage there. So a subscription product will make sense to be offered in that case. Second one-time purchases are best suited when you're providing one-time value or providing limited additional content to customers. An example would be an additional content pack, additional, say, 30 or 50 question pack for customers for a quiz game skill. Lastly, you have consumables. Consumables are best suited for situational products that you want to sell, which have temporary value, like hints within a game experience. So the product type, after looking at these three products, what I would say is the product type with the highest long-term value potential is subscription, followed by one-time purchase, and then consumable. But there surely isn't a one-size-fits-all strategy here. will vary very much with each of the skill use case that you have. Choose whatever suits your product type best. You may also use a combination of two or more or three, right, for different value propositions. Next topic that I'll come to from ISP perspective is the upsell timing, the placement, frequency,
Oh.
the verbiage of the ISP upsell. So these four factors have a high correlation with the revenue potential generated for your skill, right? So let's start with timing. Sorry, Amanda, did you have a question?
No, it's just really interesting. I never thought about the timing, but I think when you're talking about a skill that's talking to you, you kind of have to be receptive to that message at that right time, right?
That's right. Like, what is the optimum moment within the skill experience where a customer would be ready for an upsell? He would be more likely to respond to an upsell. I think it's a very important factor. So through our research, overall, looking at a lot of these skills that are doing well, what we see is that timing has a correlation to the degree of retention that a customer has with the skill, right? So recommending an ISP upsell to first-time returning customers or retained customers in general is recommended because they've had a chance to look at your skills free value that you're offering, and then they might be, since they're coming back, they might be intrigued with the skill value that you're currently offering and might be looking for more, right? So that is one. Second, what will matter is the upsell placement, as in within the skill experience, where does the upsell placement actually occur? So determine the sweet spot within the skill experience where the customers had a chance to use your skill, and the product placement would make most sense from that perspective. And if you get that right, you will have a high probability of conversion. Like, for example, I see a lot of skills successfully placing the ISP upsell after the first round of gameplay, first or a couple of rounds of gameplay, where customers would want to go for more questions, and that would be the right point of upsell. How you upsell and design your verbiage is also very important. It's important that you get the key USP right at that moment when you're talking about it. But again, there is no one-size-fits solution here. Next one, I think pricing is a factor to look at, and I think the way to think about pricing from a skill point of view would be to make sense. What price makes sense from a sustainability perspective, factoring in your hosting costs and the economics of your skill. Again, the key here is to experiment as much as possible with your skills, right? Mix and match any of these factors to determine what is the impact on revenue, and double down on what you think is the right placement or right timing, right verbiage that is working for you. So constant experimentation is highly advisable. That said, you are not alone in this experimentation journey. Our team, Alexa Skill Insights, is equipped to help you. So, if you want in-skill purchase recommendations for your existing skill, or you want to improve the revenue or upsell experience of your current skill, please feel free to write us to Alexa Skill Insights at Amazon.com, and our team will be happy to look at that. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Got it. I think it's interesting. Are you guys? Are you motion sensor lights where you guys are sitting? I've noticed
The lights are flashing out and off.
That's right.
So funny.
I actually need a skill that can turn this light on right now for me.
Yeah, or just like a little hand that just waves on a desk, right? Just something to keep the motion. So just so folks know, in a lot of the Amazon offices, the rooms are set to have motion sensors on the lights, and so if you don't move, which there are a lot of times where I'm just sitting in a conference room working, and all of a sudden the lights go off, and you're like, "What happened?" And then you have to like wave your hand to turn the lights back on. It's so funny. Anyway, I think that was a really good overview, Onkar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
All right. So the other stuff that I wanted to talk to you about, in addition to the recommendations that we're offering, is just about what the certification process looks like. Because I would imagine when you submit a skill, I don't imagine, I know, but as you think about submitting a skill for certification, there's a slightly additional path that needs to be included when someone has ISPs built into their skill versus when it might just be a basic skill that doesn't have any kinds of in-skill purchasing. So what does the certification process look like? And are there things that developers might want to look out for as they go?
Sure. Jeff, I can take that question.
Great.
So certification process for ISP is similar to the other APIs like custom or content or smart home skills that developer submits, right? The same procedure will be followed for ISP as well. So talking specific to ISP standpoint, so when a skill is submitted for certification with ISP included in that, so the checks that we perform is the all the in-skill products that are available in the skill should be purchasable, and the functionality that's been mentioned in the description should be achievable for the ISP products, and all intents provided in the intent schema should function as per the functionality of the skill provided in the description, and the skills description or the title, what's new section, and the responses should adhere to the Amazon policy guidelines, and the buy intent that's been provided in the skill for the customers to purchase should be purchasable, and the last but not the least, the skill should have the refund intent for the customers to obtain refund for the ISP products that's been purchased. So these are the few basic checks that we follow during the certification process, Jeff.
Got it. That's perfect. So I want to make sure that I take that apart. So we have obviously the ability to recommend the product to them, but a user should have a way to buy it themselves, and they should have a way to request a refund for that product. Even though some of the product types don't offer a direct refund, they still need to be able to handle that kind of request, and then it will redirect them to call customer service or interact with us in another fashion. Correct?
Correct, Jeff.
Cool. All right, I think that's good. And so those are the checks that we're going through, in addition to what we see in the certification guidelines, because you can't sell certain things, you can't collect money for certain purposes. So it's good to make sure you review all of those guidelines. But those additional checkpoints are good to know about. Amanda, I'll ask this other question as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the key do's and don'ts for developers when they submit skills with ISP? Are there things that they should really keep in mind as they go?
Yeah, I can take that question, Jeff. So one of the key feature in the skill is to upsell the ISP product available in the skill. So when a developer is building the skill, so he should ensure that the skill provides an upsell about the ISP products that are available in the skill. So it's more like advertising his ISP product so that customers are aware that the skill has in-skill products for the customers to purchase, and developers can definitely use the testing instructions that's available in the developer console, so that it eases our certification process as well, because they can provide the right upsell where it is available in the skill, so that it eases our certification process as well. And one of the example that I can provide how a skill can upsell is it could be as simple as, if you'd like more adventures to play, you can now get the KQuest expansion pack. Wanna learn more? So this is one of the sample how an upsell looks like. So a developer, so this is the main common failure even the certification team identifies when certifying an ISP skills. So I want to put it. I want to inform the developers that the skill should have the upsell content in the skill. And coming to the next part, so ISP skill should have a buy intent defined in the intent schema to directly purchase the ISP product, and should allow the users to purchase the ISP product. And the common sample utterances that I can quote is if a skill is supporting a hint pack. So and the sample utterance for buy intent could be by purchase hint, buy hint, or purchase hints. So these are the few sample utterances that developer can use when using a buy intent.
Okay.
And the third thing is with respect to refund or cancel intent. So as I quoted earlier, the skill should have a defined refund or cancel intent for the customers to refund the product, or if a skill is supporting a subscription product, it should allow users to unsubscribe the existing ISP product that the customers have purchased. And quoting few examples for refund or cancel intent could be unsubscribe the product that they have purchased, or it could be like refund KQuest expansion pack, or the refund hint pack. So these are the few sample utterances that developers can use while using the refund or cancel intent. And coming to the fourth point, so obviously
Actually,
ISP.
before you get to your fourth point, I have a question about the third one.
Mhm.
So specifically about the idea of having a buy intent to be able to buy any of the ISPs that are available inside the skill. There's a couple of catches there. One is it's possible we may need to list out the products that are available because they may not have discovered or seen them before. But how does that work in combination with the Alexa shopping actions, which also is like a buy intent, right? I want to buy that yoga mat, or I want to buy that board game. Do we have to make sure that all of those play nicely together, because it does sound and behave very similarly? And so is the expectation that a developer that uses both of those things can still provide that kind of access for both?
I can help with that question. Uh, you have rightly put it together, like in the direction. Yes, uh, the experience has to be in combination. The configuration is obviously different. Uh, the few other ways that they can differentiate is uh, having a defined utterance for the buy intent, right? For ISP specifically, and have a generic intent build for Amazon shopping, right? Uh, Also, most of the time, what we have seen is not a lot of developers have built ISP skills along with shopping kit, but that's a great way that developer can get benefited twice, right? One by selling a digital product, and plus recommending physical products using Alexa actions, right? Uh, so that's shopping action. So
All
it's
right.
a little tricky, but yes, definitely that's definitely doable, and they should definitely have a specific intent written for it. But the function, one key change in this both process, it would be at what instant the upsell is at, whether you're upselling the ISP product or you're upselling the shopping kit product. And currently there are buy direct buy option and add to cart option is available, like in Alexa shopping kit. So uh, developers can definitely make the best use of these features in
Yeah.
an ISP also.
Perfect. That's a good answer. Thank you. All right. So what I'd like to do now, because I know that we've gotten a good number of questions coming in from the crowd, is I'd love to dig into the chat here and just see. There was a bunch of people talking about Pi Day and making some very clever comments on that.
It does look like we have some questions about certification, though. I see the first one I see from Soundmaster AJ. He wants to know, can I revert the dev skill to a direct copy of the live skill through your team or the console? It says, I need to update only the endpoint and ISPs, and it has multiple languages, which I'm not ready for yet. So can you revert a dev skill to a live skill?
Or the other way.
Or the other way around, yeah.
I can answer this. This is a common question that a lot of time developers ask us in our offices also. Hey, I want to update something in to build an updated version. Will it impact my existing live version? So the simple answer to that is completely handled by the developer console and the platform. So any changes that you make in the development mode, it would, and when you click on submit for certification, it doesn't get updated immediately on the live skill. So no impact is there. So you can update your endpoint, resubmit the skill for certification. It would come for certification. Once the certification team verifies the core functionality of the skill, everything works as expected, they would then push that updated endpoint into the store, and from that instant, the new code will be reflected. Until that point, the old code in the live version or the old endpoint would sustain, and nothing will be broken in the live version of your skill.
Got it. But there is then the potential that if they wanted to make a change to their endpoint, and certification is not as fast as they would like, they could wait a few days to be able to make an update like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, there is a good feature that in the developer console, where developer can have the control at his end, where we can certify the skill, and then they can plan a day there is an option called just certify, wherein the certification will just certify the skill and it will not push the code to live, and the developer can have the control in his hand and he can choose a date when he wants to push the skill to live, and on that particular day the new version can be made live to the customers.
Got it. All right. That's good. All right. So the next question comes from Rosita, who says, "Hi, can I please ask if I need some certification while the skill is in beta version?" So I think the question that's coming in here is there's two things I want to make sure I answer. The first is, if you are just beta testing your skill, you do not need to go through certification in order to beta test your skill. The second question I think that you're asking is, can I go through certification while my skill is being beta tested? And I believe the answer to that is still yes. I don't think there's anything that would get in the way there, but I'd love to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, I can take that question, Jeff. So as you mentioned, so if the developer wants to test from his end before submitting for certification, then that's obvious. The developer can test the skill, but once the skill is submitted for certification, parallelly developer can test the skill as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question in the chat. Oh, it's just Brian Tarbox is saying the best use of ISP I've seen was in a lunar landing game where you could buy extra fuel for 99 cents. That's probably a pretty good idea. Consumables like that are a great way to monetize, right? The consumables that are like a one-time purchase, kind of that you can just replace if you need to.
Yep.
I had an idea, by the way. This would probably be a good idea, I think, if you think it would work. What if you had a game where you had a character companion and you could buy voice packs, like different voice lines for your character? Would that be something that you could, you could do with the ISP? Yeah.
It is definitely a good idea, but probably to give a better answer, we would like to see the complete experience of the skill before we can say that it would pass all the certification guidelines. Because when it's a little tricky with voices, right? So we need to understand, is it how the voices will be, what is the benefit or the value proportion that skill will get. So it's really good idea, but we would like to see the skill before we can comment on it. Hey, that's a really good. We can definitely see something well.
I just like to spin like what kind of fun thing would be fun to include in a game, and I just thought, what if you had like a little partner that you could change what they said and stuff like that? It'd be really fun.
Yeah, you see a lot of fun games that have companions, like World of Warcraft. I always wished I could talk to the little guys that I'd have follow around me. Yeah, I think that's a neat idea.
I'm scrolling down in the chat to see what else is down there. Oh, there's a question on LinkedIn. Hello, I'm developing an app with my technical partners that I've been wondering, does Alexa have the ability to bleep out certain words?
Yes and no. You can't define a library of words that will be bleeped. But as a fun experiment, go into the testing tool and try and get her to say one of the words that you would expect to be bleeped. And I think you'll find that, in fact, Alexa will bleep it automatically. I think there are ways to get exceptions to that rule based on the category that your skill is placed in. I think if you're placed in the 18 plus adult category, I can't remember what the category name is, that may not happen there, but everywhere else, any of the bad words will be auto bleeped. But I'd love to know from your perspective, guys, what's your thoughts on that?
It's very similar. What we have seen is every time, like very rare, we have seen any words which should be beeped has not been beeped out. I don't even remember when it has happened in the past. So what you said, Jeff, I completely agree to that.
Yeah. One of the other things to keep in mind is that you as the developer don't actually have any control over that. So I know there are some certification guidelines though about providing user submitted content that hasn't been pre-screened, because that's usually where you see a lot of this kind of profanity appears, when other people are writing content that comes through your skill. So make sure you're checking those guidelines as well, because you can get yourself in some trouble there. Not any real trouble. You just may not be able to get past certification if you're allowing free-flowing content from your user base to appear for other users. That can be tricky. One other thing that I've seen though that has been kind of fun, I've seen this in YouTube videos, and I remember a skill a while back that did this, but it was basically inconvenient bleeping, and so there wasn't actually any profanity, but what the user had done was they would just place bleeps in a place where a bad word would have been spoken, and it was quite humorous to hear things like the Gettysburg Address written, but they inserted some bleeps that made it sound like it was very profane. So anyway, just
I like the Sesame Street one. There's a pretty funny Sesame Street one out there with inappropriate bleeping.
Oh yeah. Anytime you can take an innocent character and bleep them a little bit, it's funny.
It's very funny.
Just an update from last week. Soundmaster AJ was talking about how he was kind of bleeding money when it came to his skill. And it sounds like he actually talked with Amkar about this, but he was encouraged to reduce the length of his audio that he supplies for free from greater than 8 hours down to 1 hour. He said he hasn't lost any of his users, but he has reduced the cost from $600 plus every month to now he's down below the free tier, which means he's not spending any money, which is fantastic. So I'm glad to hear that he had a good experience with your team and that helped him solve his problem, because I know he was very worried about that.
Thanks so much, Raj. Looking forward to working with you to identify more monetization and optimization opportunities for sure. Please feel free to reach out.
All right, let's keep on rolling here.
While we are scrolling through, Jeff, one thing that I would just like to talk to, put it out there for developers is when you're submitting these ISP skills, please use the testing instructions tab effectively when you're submitting the skill. Talk about where is the upsell placed, or any information that you think would help the certification team. This goes a long way in helping it make it easier for certification team to understand your point of view, stuff like where the upsell is placed, so that they can look at the right parts of the skill and make sure that it is working as expected. So yeah, that's all. Thanks.
All right. Let's see, I'm looking for other questions. So someone asked Rachel on LinkedIn about what her app is for, and she said that she's building something that is on-demand tutoring and homework help. What a great idea. That's a great way to help people with voice solve some problems and learn how to do algebra or geometry or something like that. That's fun. Habuma says, at least with Alexa hosted skills, he's found that it's great to get the initial work through certification. So whatever his base MVP is, and then he says he goes through and tweaks the handler code afterward and promotes that to live after that to refine and fix any bugs or anything. And as long as his changes don't impact the interaction model, it's very, very easy to kind of continue to move forward without worrying too much about the certification process. What he's hinting at, though, is that you can change the code behind your skill without going through certification. But if you make any changes to your interaction model, any significant changes, right, then you do have to go through certification again. And so the one reminder I'll give to everyone is that while you do have that freedom, skills are reviewed. And there was actually a conversation just yesterday in Slack about how someone noticed that occasionally it'll seem like a bunch of anonymous users will show up and use their skill a few times with the same kind of input the same way. And that is, I don't know if that's officially your team that's doing that, but there is some engine behind the scenes that is testing and running skills to make sure that they still work and that the endpoints are still valid, and that they're providing the kinds of responses that they should. So don't think you're going to sneak any magic content through there, but it is a good way to continue to update your skill without waiting on a certification push every time.
I'm seeing another question in chat as well. Brian Tarbox wants to know, in my Premier League football, which is soccer, it's that kind of football skill, I've thought about letting users say the team they love and the team they hate. Is that use of hate allowed? Is that something that won't pass cert because of the word hate?
I can take that question, Amanda. So for skills that uses these hate kind of words, so we need to look at the skills that we are discussing right now to see like what content or what level of content that's been provided in the skill, and we can provide feedback basis the content that's been provided.
I think that's a pretty specific question, though. Are you allowed to say what soccer team you hate?
what soccer team to hate? Yes, that can be allowed. So with respect to hatred, so I was talking more about that. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I think there's a broader question there, which is to say the word in general, when is it can and cannot be used, but it is on a case by case basis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, cool. Somebody dumped the tech docs in there for how to add a bleep in SSML. So if you guys haven't tried that before, you can find that in the chat here. It's in our SSML markup, but basically you're using a say as tag and you just designate it as an expletive, and then you can provide that bleep instead. That would be a tricky thing to do, I think, on demand, like as your skill is running. But if you want to make a word sound like it's being bleeped, you can just add the expletive tag and it will bleep over instead of speaking that word.
Trade last mentioned too, there's a bad words NPM library to screen out bad words. So we won't say any of those bad words here on the air, but if you want to know where the bad words are, they're in that library.
Right. But using that library would also allow you to then dynamically tag any words you have and wrap them in the expletive tag. That's great. I didn't know that existed, but that's fantastic. And that would give you a way to customize words that you bleep. That's good. All right. Gavin Watson says he was always told never to hate, but dislike is fine. So you could potentially use the word dislike instead of hate. But when it comes to football, people hate other teams, and so I fully understand the need for that word.
Yeah, that's a passion thing for them, right?
True.
This, you know what? This is a great kind of softball question for you guys. Razita on YouTube said, "I'm working on research for my master's degree using Alexa to help children and adults with reading. I've never built a skill so far, but are there any extra expectations for a skill when it's designed to be used by children?" I mean, I know there are, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to go into that at all.
So with respect to ISP having an CD content, so that feature is currently available only in the US locale. And yes, developer has an option to monetize ISP in CD skills as well. So that's currently available only in the EN US locale for now.
Okay. And there is a large list of things that skills can and cannot do if they're directed at children. Let me see if I can dig that up here really quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find that.
Well, I think one thing I would add there is that if a skill is being served to children, our team will be super interested in making sure that all of the content that is coming in is not of sensitive kind from a kid's point of view, and ensure that all the facts, figures, or any incidents that are being discussed are not of sensitive nature. From a child's perspective, I think those are one of the key things that our team will look for, and in some cases, that's why we will make sure that we are going through a thorough testing of the skill as much as possible, just to ensure that any of our child customers are not affected.
So this is something I'm curious about, by the way, from a certification standpoint. How do you determine whether you think a skill is for children? Do you direct the developer to provide that information, or do you actually sometimes say, no, that's a kid's skill, even if it's not supplied by the developer as a kid skill? Does that ever happen?
So Amanda, we evaluate the skill on what type of content the developer has provided in the skill, and on a case-by-case basis, we take a call for CD skills. So if that particular content is directed towards children, or if it's not directing to children, so we review all these cases on skill-to-skill basis, and then we take a call on that, Amanda.
Got it. So there is actually 8 things, and I want to make sure that I address you directly. So Razita, I'm just going to read these very quickly because I think this is a good thing for everyone to know. Your skill will be declined if, and this varies a little bit by country, whether this is the age 13 or 16. And I provided a link to this directly in the chat, but things you should know. If you are building a custom skill, but you're not an Amazon approved developer, you'll be denied. These are all things that will deny you from being able to publish your skill. if it promotes any products, content, or services, or directs end users to engage with content outside of Alexa. So if it says, hey, make sure to go to our website, you can't do that for kid-directed skills. If it sells any physical products or services, if it sells any digital products or services that don't use Amazon in-skill purchasing, which is what we're talking about today, if it collects any personal information from the end user, if it has account linking, if it has recommendations for skills not directed to children, so you can recommend a skill, but it can't be something that children may not be able to use, and or if it includes content not suitable for all ages. So if you violate any of those, your skill will not pass certification. So those are the rules specifically around child-directed skills. So Rosita, I hope that helps you a little bit, and you can find that detail specifically in the link that I just shared.
Thank you for digging that up. I think those are guidelines that everybody should be aware of if they are trying to target children with their product.
For sure. And I think we've talked about this in previous weeks, but it's important to note that a child-directed skill is a skill that is designed for people under those ages. So if it's meant to only be used by people under the age of 13, that is a child-directed skill. If you're building a skill that is just sing your favorite Disney songs, that may not specifically be child-directed, because that's a broad range of people that like that kind of content. Even though kids under 13 may use it, it's not child-directed because it's not specifically designed for people under the age of 13. So that's an important distinction to think through. Okay. Habuma has a question, slightly off topic, but my mouse guest skill, whose latest updates were pushed through certification last weekend, see, he brought it back on topic, as he says, was just tested by a friend in Disney World today, and I hear that it's working great. I'm headed to Disneyland later today to test it out there.
Well, congratulations.
I thought there was going to be a question at the end, but that's still really awesome news. And I'm glad to hear that your testing is working well. I've mentioned that Habuma has to build an entire kind of testing rig to make sure that all of his GPS location data is working appropriately, because he can't go to Disney World every day and test his skills. So he needs the ability to be able to pretend as if he's in specific locations and make sure that his skill responds appropriately. So very, very good.
Oh, and Rosita said, great, my skill will pass. Well, great. I hope to get your skill out there. I hope it does really well for you.
Alarna has a question. First, she wants to thank you guys for the work that you do. I know certification can be a very challenging place because you're either letting someone just go on with their day or you're delivering them very bad news. Those are the two alternatives. And so Alarna's question is, how do you determine the order of the skills that come into certification? And I think what she's hinting at is, do you handle all of them in the order they've come in, or sometimes do you need to put some on hold and work on others? What's the queuing like for certification process?
It's we have a, like you said in the start of the, we have an army. So we do test skills in FIFO order, first in, first out. And we try to prioritize the skills as fast as possible. But there are instances where we might have to understand or certain skills. Okay, let me debate it in a way. There are skills which are simple skills, so they might move a little faster. Then there are skills which are like vein investigation or watercraft, which requires a little detail and intense testing to verify the complete functionality. So that may take a little longer. So that's the basic difference. But we go by the skills the way they come, and then it's usually first in, first out. But if the skill length is higher or it has so many intents, so it might take a little additional time for us to verify the complete functionality and certify the skill for the customer.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Some skills certainly will take longer than others. But that's great feedback. Thank you. Good question, Alarna. Something else I'd like to call out, A. Witters just mentioned that there is a live link to this Twitch stream. Reminder, we are broadcasting on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitch and Twitter all at the same time. But if you, depending on where you're watching, you may not realize that it's on the other channels also. And so I think most people are on Twitch, but there are a few people at least on all of them. See, right now we have 7 on YouTube, 19 on Twitch, and 1 on Facebook, as it stands right now. But I don't know that we get the data from the other 2, so it's possible it's just not showing those. But the thing I wanted to mention is that if you go to the developer console right now, Not that you need to, but if you want to check this out, it's kind of cool. You can just go to the base URL where you see your list of skills. In the top right corner, this was created a while ago, but I think there was a bug that they have fixed, and so now there is a little alert box with a join button that allows you to see like, oh, office hours is happening right now. Click to join, and it'll take you directly to the Twitch stream for this office hours. And it's not just for office hours. Anything else that we broadcast on Twitch, that little bug will show up there as well. So it's a good way to know when we're broadcasting. You can just jump into the developer console and you can see it right there. It's pretty awesome.
And if you're finding us via the dev console for your first time today, well, welcome. We do this every week. Try to.
Right. All right. We have caught all the way up. We've gotten to the bottom of the questions, which has been some really good discussions here. And for you guys here from the CERT team, we really do appreciate your time. I'll give people, if there's any other final questions that you want to ask our team, let's make sure we get those in the chat. And then otherwise we'll put a nice little bow on this stream today. So,
yeah. And if you think of any questions later, don't forget you can email alexa-skills-insights@amazon.com and get your insights about the certification process directly. Yeah.
Yes. Always a good reminder. Something I need to take advantage of too. That's the easiest way to get. I'll send you guys love letters on that email. It'll be perfect. All right. So I'm trying to think through if I have any other certification questions. One of the that I kind of hinted at was, is there any issue with using shopping actions with ISP? And it sounds like that's not any issue there, but you need to make sure that you're handling the requirements for both of those. So that's good. There was another certification question I had for you. And now I can't remember what it was. That's all right. I'm sure it will come back to you.
Jeff, while we are on the topic, since we have some time, Rohan, do you want to talk about some of the policy failures, top policy failures for ISP that developers should know about? Like,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, sure. So few common errors to avoid when submitting an ISP skill for certification is to avoid encouraging the customers on how to access the premium content by providing references in skill description or in example phrases or what's new or account linking page. Like the phrases could be like buy our premium content and enjoy all available games. So these kind of sentences where it encourages the developers or the customers to purchase. So these kind of phrases are not allowed to be submitted in the skills metadata. And one more thing that I want to call out is with respect to the ISP duplicate product. So if a skill has a multiple ISP product, then the functionality of the ISP product should be unique. So for example, if the first product's functionality is to provide 5 hint pack, and the second product functionality should be unique from the first ISP product. So the second ISP product could be like a 10 hint pack, or it could be any other functionality in the ISP product. And one more thing that I want to convey in this forum is, so for example, if a developer wants to increase the pricing of the existing ISP product. So in such cases, developers can increase the pricing of the product rather than rather than adding a new product with the higher pricing. So that's not the good way to increase the pricing of the product. So rather, developers can increase the pricing of the existing ISP product.
Got it. So I have a couple of questions about that. The first is, let's say I have a subscription and it's $1.99 a month, and I decide I need to raise the price on this to $3.99. What happens to my existing subscriptions?
So the existing customers who have purchased the product at $0.99, so they will continue to have the product for that particular price. The new customers,
it doesn't end their subscription or anything. They will continue at the price that they had it.
Okay.
Is there any way to encourage them to move up then? Is there any way for me to convert them to a $3.99?
So once the subscription period for that customer ends, and then in the next purchase, that particular customer would be charged at the same price which the developer has increased the price for $3.99.
So if I have a monthly subscription and it's $1.99 until June, and in July I make it $3.99, then at the end of June, when there's the $1.99 subscription runs out, they would get the $3.99 automatically? Are they warned? Do they get a notification? Is there something to let them know that the price has gone up?
Yes, they do. They do get the notification, Jeff.
Okay. Great. And then the other question I had for you, you mentioned not replicating functionality. So I've tried this in another skill that I never published, so I didn't get any feedback from your team. But let's say that I have a trivia game and it has 20 categories of questions, and you can buy any one of the categories for $1. So I can say I want the sports category, or I want the history category, or whatever. And so you could individually buy all 20 of them. Or I offer a subscription for $3.99 a month that unlocks all of them. Is there any conflict there? Is there any issue with doing something like that, where the subscription unlocks all of these things, but I can also individually buy them for $1?
So Jeff, answering to that question, so developers can submit with the functionality that you stated, like a subscription could have all the 20 products, or as a subscription product, or developer can add 20 one-time purchase products. So for customers who wants only one type of product that's been to use, then he can go for a one-time purchase for a lesser price. For example, if it's $1 and the subscription could be of a $5, and the customer might not be interested in all the packs, all the functionalities that's been included in the subscription product. In such cases, customers can go for the one-time purchase where for the functionality where he's interested, and he can purchase with the lesser price.
Got it. Okay.
It looks like we've got a couple more questions in chat. Do we want to quickly lightning round some of these just to make sure we get them?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Brian Tarbox wants to know, is there any chance of getting more subscription options? I mean, maybe not, but it's a good idea. Particularly for sports skills, a year, a seasonal subscription.
Yeah, so we offer monthly and yearly today. Is there a way for me to specify that a subscription is for 9 months or 2 weeks or anything like that?
Yes, developers do have an option to decide the period of time that he wants to subscribe, or that needs to be available. So it could be like 2 weeks or a month or a quarter. It's completely up to the
that's
developer.
great.
Yeah.
That's great. I don't think I realized that, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's cool.
Yeah.
What about flash discounts? Would that be a certification thing if you put something on sale?
I think there is a option of skill deals. That's something that developers can opt in for, wherein, so the best part is it's a auto
Skill
handle.
deals. We got a link to that in the chat as well.
Yeah, so it's auto handled. You configure it once and forget about it. You can configure it 12 months prior. Say, for example, now you can configure for Christmas time also. So during the Christmas, you can have a flash skill deals. During that period, you can discount the price. And once the period is ended, it will automatically turn to the regular pricing.
Got it.
Great.
All right. We have a deeper question. I know we only have a couple of minutes, but I want to see if we can work this through for Soundmaster AJ. So he currently has a skill that has been published, and it's good. And then he has a dev skill where he went in and he added a couple of new languages, but he didn't actually intend to support them, but he doesn't have a way to remove them now. And he feels like he's stuck because if he pushes to certification, you guys are going to say, well, you don't support those languages, so you don't pass. First question is there a way for him to remove those languages? I'm thinking about, like, maybe if he pulled the skill down locally to his machine, he could remove those from the thing and then deploy it again, and that might solve the problem. But I think in the dev console, there isn't a way to remove a language once you've added it. Then the next question that he had was, could I push my skill to certification? And in the testing instructions, just say, all I want to update is my endpoint. Can he do that even though his skill would fail otherwise?
So there is a mapping to make your skill available in particular countries. Like when you submit a skill, you have an option to select the countries where you want to have that skill published. So even if you have accidentally published a skill to, say, all the 5 English locales, but you don't want the skill to be available in, say, Australia, right? So you can, that choice is still there the skill would still be tested, but when we publish the skill, the skill will not be published to Australia, okay, because you have not targeted that particular country. Right?
And that's in the I'm forgetting the distribution tab where we actually say where I want this skill to be published.
That's
correct.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
But in certification stage, if the developer has just updated the US endpoint, and when we test the AU endpoint, it's definitely going to fail because the developer has not made it or submitted a broken endpoint on that particular locale. The one way to do it is notify us that, hey, you intend not to have this, so that we are aware, and our the certification team can take the right decision. They would just obviously validate whether the skill is still targeted to AU locale or whichever locale the developer doesn't want to publish, and then take the right direction. In case if we need a little more clarification, the certification will try to reach out to the developer via the available channels or in the rejection and explain in detail what is the best alternative way that he or the developer can fix this.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks for that answer.
We are way
Yeah.
over time. Go ahead.
Yeah.
One last thing. So I just wanted to appeal to all developers. We have a certification survey at the bottom of every certification email that you receive. Please make sure that you're adding your feedback there. We are always listening and are happy to iterate on any feedback that comes in. So thank you.
Great point. Thank you, Omkar. And that's a great way to end.
Yeah.
So with that, I want to thank everybody for being here. We do this every week, and I'm so glad that we were able to answer so many of your questions. We will be back again next week with Nick Schwab, who's one of our Alexa champions. He's the guy behind Sleepjar, if you played with any of their skills. And other than that, we will see you all next week. So have a fantastic weekend.
See you next week, everybody. Happy Pi Day.
Bye-bye.